Hi guys, welcome back to your Not So Ordinary Scrapbook channel. I am going to continue on with this December daily. I did a couple pages off camera a couple days ago. I really haven't had a lot of time to scrapbook this week. It's been kind of a busy week. I know we did these. I don't think I did this one. I think I finished with day 2. So that was our first snow of the year, was on December 2nd. And then here is December 3rd. And this is just the beginning of my EITP training through U of I. That started on December 3rd. And then I guess I did 4 pages. Maybe more. Maybe I did 6 pages. Oh, there's a little ant. Why are you in here? I just killed an ant. My desk is right next to an outside wall, and so sometimes we get ants in here. So that's not something that I enjoy very much, but I saw one crawl across my desk, so I had to tackle it. This is one of my oldest and dearest friends, Michelle. I met her in 1998. I helped her sell her house. I was working at the newspaper in Bloomington at the Pantograph, and I was working in advertising at the time, and I actually helped. How I met her was she wanted to create an ad advertising her home that was for sale, and because they had just bought a new house. And so I got to know her over the course of several weeks of trying, well, actually probably about 3 months of trying to sell her house, and her house sold. And so during that period of time, we became friends, and then we realized that our kids were really close in age. And this was, well, our oldest kids were close in age, because this was long before Hunter and Ethan were even thought of. And so we became really close friends that way, and our friendship has grown over several decades. Over the past, 3 decades, actually. Almost 3 decades, I should say. So every year we have a tradition that around the holidays we get together and we spend the day together. And so we did that on December 4th. She retired. She was able to retire early from her job. She worked at Thrivent. She was a financial analyst for Thrivent. And I realize this is not quite even, so I'm going to cut this real quick while I see it. And so she retired from that, and she bought a camper, and she likes to go camping. I've gone camping with her a couple times. And yeah. So that was that day. We went out to breakfast, actually, that day. We went to this new restaurant, or newer restaurant, up by where she lives. And it's kind of a breakfast restaurant, so it's really only open till like 2 o'clock. But they had really good food. I'd like to go back there, actually. I was just talking to my husband about that earlier today, that would be a neat place to go to for Mother's Day with all the kids. But I have a feeling it's going to be really busy, so I don't know if we're going to be able to get a reservation or not. But yeah, it was a really neat place. They have swings for seats in part of the restaurant, which is kind of neat, like a porch swing situation. So that's kind of neat. This is the envelope that I stuck in here. So this is just kind of a very small layout. This is holiday books. So this is just a collection of our holiday children's books that we have. There are a lot more. These are our favorite classical ones that I stack up for kind of a decoration. We have our Tasha Tudor Advent calendar, and then these old school books from the 1940s, Christmas and the middle grades, and then here's another Christmas book for younger kids, and there's Christmas songs in there, Christmas plays, little Christmas activities that they did in the 1940s. I like vintage things as far as like paper goods. I'm not really vintage as far as like clothes go, or maybe some decor. Not a lot, but I really have a fascination with the 1940s and little bit of the 1950s, but mainly more 1940s era, especially for like cookbooks and like school books and things like that. And then this is just kind of a collection of like Mickey's Christmas Carol, The Grinch That Stole Christmas. We have, of course, The Polar Express, Bad Kitty's Christmas, Boxes for Katie. I don't know if I can even see all of these. But yeah, a lot of those that we can read throughout the holidays. Now, when the kids were little, we used to wrap each of these children's books up in wrapping paper, and then each night we'd let them pick one of the books that we had, and then they could open it, and then we'd read that book. And that was just a fun thing that we did. Every year we'd usually buy one additional Christmas book to add to the collection, and then over the years we just built up quite a large collection of Christmas books. This is just a card that I had, and then I added holiday in there, our top 10 holiday Christmas memories. This came with the Ellie Edwards December Daily Kit. I'm not sure where this came from. This did not come from Ellie Edwards or this. These are old. These are also old, as is this sticker. I put a little tab on here that says Traditions. And then on day 5, I did this layout, my granddaughter Aria's first Christmas. Her mama made this for my collection. On the wall I have a collection of the children's feet, all my grandkids' feet, prints with a bow on top of it. I don't know. You'll see it somewhere in here because I did take a picture of it that I'll scrapbook. Probably on this page, maybe. Might be a good place for it. Well, maybe not. I could put it on the back, I suppose. I'm not sure where I'll put it, but so this is hers. I told her mommy, my daughter-in-law, that I really wanted this for Christmas so I could frame it or put it on a canvas and hang it on the wall with the other grandkids. And so she made sure that she went through with that, and she painted these beautiful berries and the holly leaves and the bow and all that stuff. She's super talented that way. And then she added "Love You from My Head to My Mistletoes," so that was cute. And then at the bottom she put Aria Rose McPhail 2024. And then I just added First and Christmas as a rub-on. So, and this is their dog Iris. He's a husky, or she's a husky with blue eyes, bright blue eyes. So that's my little Aria princess. So I'm going to do the back of this. I realized when I did this layout that I covered up the holes. So I'm going to have to, on this next layout, I'm gonna have to punch those with my hole punch, so I can put that in here. I know that on day, this is day 5. On day 6, Scott and I went Christmas shopping. And we went out to Chili's for lunch. We got burgers and fries. And that was just a fun afternoon that we had together. So, Christmas shopping. I always have fun Christmas shopping with him. He is just a blast to Christmas shop with. We spend a lot of time looking at stuff and just laughing at things. So, oh, he had the buffalo chicken strips. My husband is so funny that way. He will, he is extremely set in his ways as far as like food goes. He's extremely picky for one thing. But we have specific restaurants that we go to on a regular basis. Now, Chili's is not one of them. So if it is a restaurant that we haven't been to in a while, or we've been to Chili's before, I mean, of course, but if we haven't been to a place in a while, he generally always gets either the buffalo chicken strips or the buffalo chicken sandwich. That's his go-to, and he's pretty content with that because he knows he likes that. But if we go to a place that we go to more often than that, he will order the same exact thing. He is a man who prefers buffet restaurants over any other type of restaurant. Just because he can get what he wants and he can eat as much of it as he wants. And I think a lot of guys are like that. I don't think that that's unique in any way. I need a drink of my iced coffee. Oh, that's too sweet. I made it a little too sweet tonight. But I will survive. I need to find that hole punch. I'm not sure what I did with it. Is it in here? No, that's the eyelet setter one. I'm not sure what I did with it. I may have to wait. Well, if you saw, or I don't think that you can see the left-hand side of my desk, but it is not making me happy. I don't like when things are all jumbled up and like mixed up and all that stuff. Causes me unnecessary stress. I don't know what that is. That's garbage. Well, I'll just find it later. I'll just scrapbook this. I'll just scrapbook and then I'll punch holes later after I clean up. That sounds like a plan. So today I got up because I had to see a client, and I got up early so I would have like plenty of time to just like relax before I had to go to drive there. And then I'm like in the middle of my coffee, haven't taken my shower yet or anything. And I get a text from the mom that says, can you come early today if possible? And I'm like, oh my goodness. I look at the time and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I can come about a half an hour early. And so I got in the shower and got ready real quick and hopped out the door so I could get there early. And even then, I didn't get there as early as I wanted to because I took a wrong turn, which happens sometimes. I mean, okay, so a lot of these people, they live like way out in the boondocks. I mean, like, I'm talking way out in the country. And this person is no different. Well, I mean, I've been to this house several times already, but the country roads out there confuse me. They just confuse me. And even with GPS, sometimes GPS is never consistent. So it's like, I never know if it's going to lead me in the right direction. And sometimes, like, I'm off the grid because it's so far out there that there's no cell connection for short periods of time. Like in certain areas, there are like dead zones. So so I was thinking while I was driving, because I do a lot of that, do a lot of driving, and I do a lot of thinking because I want to hear the GPS. And it's not wanting to let go. I want to hear the GPS, but so I don't normally play music. And then I like to kind of like reflect on what we worked on last time when I met with the child, and you know, all that kind of stuff, and new skills that I want to build on, the domains that we're working on, things like that. And so I'm driving a lot, and I think of a lot of other things too. I mean, it's not just that. Like, sometimes I have to drive for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Today it was only 20 minutes, but still it was 20 minutes in the quiet. So I'm driving out on this country road, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like way out in the boondocks, and I'm thinking, if I hit a deer and I die, no one's going to be able to find me for days because there's never any traffic at all. It's just crazy. Yesterday, I saw 3 clients, and I was driving. GPS led me on a different road again, which is not unusual. And it led me down 1550th Street. And like a big portion of this road is loose gravel. So I don't know if eventually they plan on paving it, or if it's a new road, if it's an old road. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know. I don't recall ever going that way before to these people's house. So, and this is a rather new client, so I've only been there a couple times. But, yeah, that was fun yesterday, driving on loose gravel. So my car, like, is little. I have a very little car, and it's great for gas mileage. I mean, it's perfect for commuting to different places. But, it doesn't handle very well on loose gravel. I mean, I did fine, but I had to go much slower than I wanted to go. And the dust was just kicking up everywhere. My car is literally filthy. Last week it got filthy too because I was going down a different road that I got led down that was also loose gravel. And it was, but last week the road I went down was full of mud because it was raining at the time. So my car got all muddy. Well, this time, now it's covered in dust. So, but there was a car like in front of me yesterday that was kicking up dust too. So I could hardly even see because it would look like puffs of dust in front of me, whereas I could hardly see like the road. So that was fun, but I'm hoping that road gets paved. It was a quicker way to get there, but on the way home, I was like, I am not going that way. So I turned. I was like, on a whim, I just was like, I'm just going to turn at the stop sign and then GPS all over again and see what happens. And it led me home. It took about 5 minutes longer, but I didn't have to go through the gravel again. So it just led me to Route 10 instead, which was fine. And that's the normal way that I normally go anyways, is the Route 10 way, but I don't know why it led me that other way. Maybe it thought that I wanted to save time. I don't know. But it's not worth it if like my car's getting filthy. And plus, I was thinking the whole time I was driving over the gravel for miles and miles that I was like, this has got to be bad for my tires. This is not good wear and tear on my tires. And if I have to drive this every single week, that's not good. So I will definitely go the Route 10 way from now on. Okay, so I didn't mat those, but I think I'm gonna do, like, I'm gonna do food for sure. So we can do this, like, cup of hot chocolate. Maybe this gingerbread boy. I should move that over a little bit. There we go. That looks good. And I used up a sticker sheet. So today, when I got home from seeing my client, I had a course that I signed up for, an ethical, it was a training course because, like I said, I told you before, I need all these credit hours for my full credential. And so I signed up for the Zoom course. And it was just a one-day like seminar that was on ethical principles, and I thought it was pretty good as far as like we work with a lot of diverse families, and sometimes we always have to be completely honest with the families about, you know, how their child is doing, if we have any concerns. And sometimes those conversations, we can feel a little bit intimidated to, like, you never want to tell a client something that can come back and bite you in the butt. So, like, we have to be really careful about what we say to clients, and that is why we have insurance, because we don't want someone to threaten to sue us. That would be bad. So I try to keep it on the neutral mostly. If there's an issue, like if I have to talk to a parent about something, and I haven't had to do this yet, so like I'm speaking hypothetically because I haven't run into a situation yet where I've had to have a difficult conversation with a parent yet. But you know, it's probably going to happen someday, and so just knowing who I can contact if there is an issue. I know one of the biggest things that I run into, and I actually used it as an example today because we each had to, like, we in the chat section of the Zoom, we had to each like use a personal experience that is somewhat troublesome for us, that we're not sure about, you know, that we could use help and clarification, you know, how to handle the situation in an ethical way. And so one thing, what I used, or what I typed out, was I used this example of one of the most common questions I get asked by new clients is when are we going to see the other disciplines? Because, like, because we're in a different billing system than the other therapists, because they're medical based, and we are through DHS. We almost always get automatic approval through DHS, through the state. And so we are a lot of times given the green light way before other disciplines are given the green light. And so we'll start seeing a client, and then the client's saying, you know, well, my child's supposed to get speech, or my child's supposed to get physical therapy, and I haven't heard from the physical therapist yet, or, you know, and so then I have to guide them, like, okay, well, this is the reason, you know, and prior to a few weeks ago, I really didn't know what the reason was. I'd come across it a couple times, and I just was like, I referred them to their service coordinator, and I was like, I really don't know. I really don't have an answer for you, but you can call your service coordinator, and they can direct you. Like, they can get a hold of, you know, the other therapists and find out that information for you. You know, is what I normally tell my clients when they ask that question. But I actually had a speech and language pathologist text me one day, and she's like, are you seeing this client? And I said, yes, I've seen this client 2 times already. And she said, because I can't seem to get insurance to approve this client, and so I was wondering if you were having problems getting approved. And she was not aware that we were on a different billing system than they are. So I found that out through my boss, because I told her, I said, I'm going to text my boss, because I I need to know the answer to this because this question has come across a couple times, and I always refer them to the service coordinator. So I need to find out what the reasoning behind it is. And so then I was told about the whole billing thing. So then I text the SLT or SLP, and I told her, I said, well, this is what my boss told me. And she's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Well, then, and she said, well, she was going to like, contact the client directly and like try to figure something out with them. And I told her, I wish you luck, you know, and all that stuff. And then the next time that I saw the client, they said that they were set up to see this SLT, so, or SLP. So I don't know why I keep wanting to say SLT. So anyways, I mentioned that, and like a lot of other people were like, yeah, you know, that's I agree, you know, that's something that we face too. And so then the leader of there were two people that were hosting this seminar, and they were like, yeah, we know, you know, there's a shortage, which we all knew that there was a shortage. I mean, there's a shortage of all therapists in all disciplines right now. And so a lot of them are having to go, you know, do live video visits. And so that makes it challenging because some families don't want live video. They want in person. And so that's a little bit challenging. But right now we are doing only in person for DT. So that's helpful. I don't know that I took a course on it to get like credit hours on live video visits, and I could do it if I had to, but I'm hoping that I don't, because I don't know how that would work. I mean, other than being Miss Rachel, you know, and I can be Miss Rachel. I mean, I don't have a problem being Miss Rachel, but I always feel kind of inadequate to be, you know, like if your child needs me to be Miss Rachel, just watch Miss Rachel, is kind of my philosophy on that. But it's like, I mean, other than the fact that I know what domains that, you know, the child, I know the specific domains that the child needs is delayed in. So, so I plan our therapy sessions around that, but, and Miss Rachel wouldn't do that. She kind of covers everything, but, it's more of a different vibe, because you're more of a coach when you do live video visits. You're coaching the parents more than you're working with the child. You're coaching the parents to work with the child instead of working directly with the child. We do coaching in person as well, but mostly, you know, I find that I'm just asking questions a lot. I'm asking questions about things that they're struggling with, and try to collaborate with them to work on a plan, you know, to kind of tackle some of these issues that they're having, because it's all like directed by the parents, more so than anything else. You know, it's what the parents want to see in their child, more so than, you know, what any assessment says. So, because the parents have to agree to any kind of therapy that we provide. it's all up to them. So and one thing, you know, that was really, that I found to be so true about today's seminar is that, you know, all families are different. You're going to have some families that are really super involved and wanting to be involved in every aspect of the therapy session. And they're super concerned about their child, and they're, you know, super excited to work with the child. And this is kind of at the end of the night. The next day was parade day. Or it wasn't a parade. I don't know what I'm saying. This is the Festival of Trees, or Festival of Lights in Clinton. We have one in our town. This is the town that my son Hunter and his wife and kids live in. And they do memorial trees all the way around the square. And then they have the specific night where they light up all the trees at once. They have a countdown, and then they have hot chocolate, and it's always free to the community. So they have free hot chocolate, free hot dogs, free chips, free popcorn, usually provided by local businesses. And so my daughter-in-law had a child, how many years ago was that? I think this year she would have been 13, but she passed away when she was 9. And so they always make a tree for her at this festival. And so every year we make sure that we go to that, just in memory of her daughter. I never personally got to meet her daughter, because she passed away in 2019. But Hunter did, because Hunter worked with Jordan at Walmart. Jordan was Hunter's boss, and that's how they met. And then after Lainey died, then they became close, and then the rest is history. They fell in love and got married. So they started out as really good friends. They were like best friends, and Hunter became a supervisor at Walmart at the ripe old age of 18. And that's actually how he met Esme's mom too, because she worked at Walmart with them too. This is not working the way I want it to. One more time. There, that's better, I guess. It's not perfect, but that's okay. I kind of like how that tree sticks out right there. So I'm thinking of putting like this on top. I actually can cut off a portion of this because this is just lawn. But Lainey had a disability, and she wasn't supposed to live at all. Like, they told her that she wouldn't survive much longer than birth. They told Jordan that, and then she ended up living for 9 years. So it was a blessing that, you know, she was here as long as she was. So Jordan and some close friends of hers get together, and Hunter too, I think, and they put this tree together in memory of Lainey. And we usually meet at their house, and then we do all this fun stuff. Santa is always there. Here's a picture of Esme and Corbin in their wonderful wagon. Here's a picture of all of them in front of, this is Lainey's tree right here. This one. And it's got her little sign that says, in loving memory of Lainey, once a mermaid, always or forever an angel. So, I'm trying to think. I hate to put it this way because it's kind of like, I feel like it should be over here. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like you shouldn't be looking off the page. I mean, I could cut this off and then with all the kids, and then I still have the picture of the whole tree there. I think that's what I'm gonna have to do so it fits on there. So after the seminar today, got done with that, and then I was like, well, it was like 3 o'clock. So I was like, I need to call, or I need to order my birth certificate because that Real ID thing took effect, and I have a flight booked for August, and I don't have a Real ID yet. Well, I just happened to be the goofy person who lost her birth certificate. I think I lost it about 20 years ago, and I just never replaced it because I didn't need to. I have all other forms of identification, marriage license. I even have my divorce papers to my first husband. So I have that name change. I have, of course, my social security card, my driver's license, all other forms of identification. So I thought, well, this isn't going to be too hard to order my birth certificate online. And so I got on the county that I was born website where you're supposed to order the birth certificate, and it said if you were born between the ages of 1948 and 1967, we do not have records or birth records of those years. You will have to contact the hospital in which you were born and see if they have those records available for you, but most hospitals do not keep records longer than 10 years. So I'm thinking, how am I going to get my birth certificate? Like, because I was born within that time frame. And I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? So I call the place, and I'm on hold for a really long time. And then finally, like after 30 minutes, someone gets on, and I talk to her, and she's super nice. And she's like, what website are you seeing this on? She goes, because for that county, she pulled it. She goes, for this county, we have records dating back from 1907 on up. And I said, oh, it's on this county website, the registrar website. And she's like, give me that web address. So I did. And she pulled it up, and she's like, what the heck? She's like, I have never seen this before. She goes, well, it's not true. She said, we should definitely have a record of your birth, I said, I know the name of the hospital that I was born at. I know the doctors that delivered me. I have all that information. And so, she's like, well, call. She goes, I want you. She goes, we're just a county. She's like, I want you to call the state. I'll give you that number. And I said, okay. She goes, and then come back, and then you should be able to get into the system and order it online, or you could do it over the phone as well. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try. So I call this number that she gives me for the state, and I talked to a guy, and he's like, yeah, he's like, we have records from 1907 on. And I'm like, well, that website caused me a lot of confusion, because I thought, well, how am I going to get my birth certificate? And he's like, well, you shouldn't have a problem at all. He's like, just, he goes, I can transfer you if you want to order it on the phone, or you can order it online. And I'm like, well, what's the website where I order it online? And he told me. And so I ordered it online, and, you know, of course I had to prove that I was me and stuff. But I ordered it. It cost $68 because I wanted it certified. I wanted it delivered, certified, and also we're requiring a signature. So I knew that someone would sign for it, so like it wouldn't accidentally have like not showed up or something like that. I wanted to make sure that it went, you know, to me, directly to me. So so I'm hopeful that it comes, because I'm trying to be proactive. I mean, I know that I have about 3 months, but I need to get this situated long before the flight, so I'm not like scrambling. I tend to be the type of person who scrambles and then stresses out about it, which is really odd because I'm a planner and I plan things well in advance, writing it down, you know, and it all looks really good on paper, but implementing all my plans don't always go as easily as what I think they're going to. Sometimes I think I have a whole lot more time in my day when I'm writing stuff down than when I am actually like performing the task. So what do I want to put here? I don't have any pictures of mermaids, so I couldn't do that. So I was glad to get that taken care of. Last week, the whole stress was with my student loan thing. I got that figured out easily. And I did not even have to wait on the phone for hours and hours like I did the first time. That complaint worked. Like, I sent that complaint in and they said, we'll let you know within 15 days. Well, within about 4 days, I get an email back with a link to, I did owe, like, for, a previous student loan that I had, that I didn't realize that I still owed on, which it wasn't in default or anything. It was like I owed interest on it or something. It wasn't even like a real loan payment. It was just like interest that was due or something that hadn't been paid. And I didn't realize that it was out there. And every time I tried to pull up my student loan, like my current student loan, like it showed that I didn't owe anything. And I was like, well, how can I pay anything when it shows that I don't owe anything? or I don't owe anything yet. I do owe my student loan, but it's not due yet. So they sent me the link to it, and I was able to pull it up, and then I was able to pay it like immediately. And so that helped. And then I was having problems with the hospital too, because like all of their bills are all separate and wonky too. And so I was having trouble with that, and like calling people and leaving messages and billing, and like they would call me back and I wasn't available, and like it was just like we were playing phone tag. And then finally I was able to connect with those places and make payments and like get that all situated. So I felt really good about that. Last week I was feeling really pretty good about like getting all of that taken care of. I was like, boy, you accomplished a lot getting these things taken care of. When I fretted about it like for a long time, like I don't know why I'm this way, and hopefully other people are like this, because if it's just me, then I don't know what to say about it. And it could very well just be me. But I'm gonna cut part of this off. I will get super stressed out and confused about something. Like, I get super frustrated when things don't, like, are not easy to figure out. And then, and most of the time it has to do with the computer, like with some system or other, some company or other that I'm trying to either pay a bill or trying to get information from or whatever. It's always something like that. And like, there's some problem, like there's always some problem. And like, I will stress about it and then I'll give up, and then I'll go back to it and I'll stress about it and give up. And I'll give up like several times, vent about it 50 million times. And then all of a sudden, like, I will be like, okay, you have to take care of this now, today, right now. And then I don't know if I'm just in a calmer mood when I try to take care of it or whatever. But then like everything clicks, everything works out, everything like, and then I go wondering like, why did I fret and stress out so much about this when it was so easy to take care of this? I mean, why? And I don't understand it. It's just, I don't know if my brain just is not very cooperative. I need to put a 6 on that too. I don't know what is wrong with me that I stress out like that. I don't know if it's I become so overwhelmed with the situation that I'm like, I have irrational thought, or I don't, or maybe I'm so stressed out about it that I'm like making like errors. Like when I'm on the computer, I'm making like errors that I don't realize that I'm making, you know, and then that's like messing me up even more. I'm just not sure. Which, I mean, when I think about it, that could very well be the case. Like that I'm getting too overwhelmed and upset about it, that I'm not thinking straight, and so I'm just like continually stressing myself out and not able to figure it out. I mean, I guess I used to get that way too when I was in school, because I would I would have these assignments, especially in grad school. I would have these assignments that I was like, there's no way that I can figure this out. Like one time I had to make a podcast for one of my courses. And I had never made a podcast before. I had no freaking clue how to make a podcast. And we had to like edit it. And that was the part that scared me the most. Like, not writing the podcast was not a problem. Doing the podcast was not a problem because I've done YouTube for several years now. So I wasn't like fearful of that. But I had to edit. And I don't edit my videos. I never have edited my videos. What's on here is what's on here. And if the video runs long, it runs long. If it's, you know, there's just, I don't edit. And editing a podcast is challenging because you've got to make sure that everything lines up and, you know, the words line up and you don't have any like blank spaces or you don't have any. And part of the assignment was we had to like have sound effects and different, you know, things on there too. And it was really scary for me. And I literally thought I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to have to drop this course because I'm not going to be able to do this. And I was hyperventilating over it. Like, I was so stressed out about it and nothing was working right. Couldn't figure it out for the longest time. And like, I was reaching the deadline and I was like, oh my gosh, I am going to do so poorly in this course if I continue. And, but it was required for graduation. So I had to do it. And I texted the professor and I'm like, I am not sure like how good this is going to be because I've never done this before. This is scaring. I've never had such a frustrating assignment before. And she's like, it's okay. Just relax. Don't, you know, she's like, it's no reason to get all worked up, you know. She's like, just do your best. And I did, and I just pushed through it. Took it one bite at a time. Like they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I did it, and I ended up getting an A in the course. So I was like, man, I wanted to drop that course so many times. And in that same course, I had to make a blog. That was like my worst class of my entire grad program. I had to make a blog. I had to, what else did I have to do? I had to create a, what is it called? One of those boards, a vision board or whatever. Is that what they're called? I forget. So to do that, I had to film a video, which filming a video was not that bad because I had done that before. But I was using all these different platforms that I had never used before, and it was scaring me. It was just like very stressful for me. And just, I had to work through it. I had to like just push myself to work through it. And so I know that I can do it, but I just gotta remember that, you know, you've done it before, you can push through it, you can do this, and just not stress myself out about it. But that's easier said than done. And I honestly think that computers will always frustrate me and will always stress me out. I don't think that there will ever come a time when they don't. I use them. I depend on them a lot. But when you're Gen X, and it's hard. Computers are really hard for Gen X. I don't know if other Gen X people, if there's any Gen X listening to me that understand that, or if they've been able to adapt quite easily to it. I don't know if it's because I've been kicking and screaming this entire way, like fighting it, and that very well could be that's my problem, is that I don't adjust to change very well, or adapt to change very well. But I mean, when I was in college in the late 80s and I graduated in 1990. We had dot matrix printers. We had computer labs because nobody owned their own computer back then. I did have a word processor that was like this. It was half typewriter, half digital type thing that I could type on, but it was kind of a pain in the neck to use. You couldn't really erase on it. Like if you typed it in there, it was on there and you couldn't get rid of it. You had to start over. So that was kind of a pain. But there was a building at the university that I went to that we would, take our papers and, we had to like sign in to use the computer. And you had to get all your work done. And then, there was a communal dot matrix printers that you printed out on. And then you got your papers and you were done. So I'm putting December 7th, and then I think I'm going to put Lainey's tree up here. I mean, I remember our first computer that we owned. Joe and I had moved out of the dorms and we had moved into our first apartment. And he got his school money. And we went to, I think it was Best Buy. Was Best Buy even around then? Seems like it was Best Buy, or maybe it was Sears. No, it was Sears. And we bought a home computer that had floppy disks because back then you used floppy disks. And we really didn't use it for too much. We didn't have a printer at the time, but we could type out papers on it. And then we could take the floppy disk. We could save it on the floppy disk, and then we could take it to the printer, the computer lab, and print it out. But so that would have been, we moved into those apartments junior year, so that would have been 1989. And then we got our first printer after we were married. And we were married in 90. So we graduated in 90. Joe got a job at barefoot grass in Waukesha, Wisconsin. So we moved from Stevens Point to Waukesha shortly after we were married. And then we bought a DeskJet printer that we hooked to our computer, the same computer that we bought. And we had that computer until, well, we had that computer until we divorced. We divorced in 96. So there is no apostrophe, so I'm making one. But I'm having problems getting it in the right position. And then after Scott and I got married, we bought our first computer together in, gosh, not long after that, I don't think. I'm thinking 1999, maybe 2000. We bought our first computer together. And then, of course, internet was invented around that time too. But I think the system that we bought came with a printer. And that system I think we did buy from Best Buy. I don't think tree is going to fit there. I'm going to have to use a different style letter. I'm going to have to use like tile letters. I could use green and do a tree. I could do that. I wish I could find my tweezers. My scrapbooking tweezers. Oh, I know what I just did see though. The hole punch that I was looking for. I just found it. I'm pretty sure my tweezers are in the holder because I'm pretty sure I put them in there. But, well, I'll get out the hole punch anyway because I know I need that. I might be able to use, I don't know if I'm going to be able to use that or not. I don't know. I don't like the way that looks. See, I don't really like these December daily letters. They're too flimsy. I wish they were cardstock. They must have started racing. We live quite, well, I don't want to say we're super far from the fairgrounds, but we're not close to the fairgrounds. I mean, or I don't think that we're very close to the fairgrounds. But I can hear the races. They must have started like the car racing, because I can hear it right now. Just all the engines and the race cars. I'm not going to use that one. But I don't know if you can hear it or not. But it's very loud. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these letters. These letter stickers. I'm not gonna complain about it. I mean, I like them. I like the look of them. It's just, they tear. It's hard to get them lined up without the right tool. Maybe I could, if I do it like cockeyed, it'll fit better. So I didn't even realize this weekend was Mother's Day until Scott said something this morning. He said, "Oh, you have 3 gifts coming." And I said, "For what?" And he's like, "Mother's Day." And I'm like, "When's Mother's Day?" And he said, "Sunday." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." I'm like, "You didn't have to get me anything." He's like, "Yes, I did." I'm like, "What do you mean, yes, you did?" And he said, "Yes, I did." He goes, "I've put you through a lot the past few years." Which, it's been more than a few years, but I'm not going to say anything about that. It's been a long time. But I'm not a gift person. I'm not like someone who's like, "You owe me." You know, I know people like that, and it kind of makes me sick to my stomach. I have a couple friends who have gotten divorces and like jacked up their ex-husband's credit card, you know, like majorly, like they have a joint credit card account or something, or whether it's joint or not, I'm not sure, because they've never really specified that if it was joint or not, but you would think that it would be illegal if I don't know, if you use the other person's credit card. But yeah, 2 friends did that. They were like, I knew we were getting divorced, so I just bought everything that I wanted. And I was like, you know, I never really said anything to them about it, but I was like thinking to myself, I could never do that. And one of those friends, I remember when I was dating, Joe and I were dating, we weren't even married yet. We had broken up over the summer when we were in college, and my one friend was married at the time, and we were talking while she was swinging her son on the swing set, and I told her I felt like a heel for breaking up with him, because let me put 24, like 2024. Will people understand that though? Maybe not. I need like a picture of a tree or something. But Joe had booked us like a fantasy suite type thing at a hotel for our anniversary, like our dating anniversary. I think we had been dating we'd only been dating a year, I think. And there was this other guy that I liked that I kind of wanted to go out with, and Joe was having issues with things that he always had issues with, and I thought that I really wanted to go out with this guy named Jeff that was a good friend of mine. And it was over the summer, and Joe was going to be gone because he went to school for resource management at the university that we went to, and part of his degree program, they had to go to like this refuge all summer and work at this refuge. I think it was a fish hatchery or something like that. And so he was going to be gone that summer anyways, and I thought this is a good time to break up with him because then he'll be gone, and then we can kind of decide like if this is something that we want to continue. This is long before we lived together or anything. This was like we were both still living in the dorms and stuff. And so he had booked this hotel for us, and he had paid for it in advance. And so it was already paid for. And I felt bad about not going because I thought that's really crappy because I know that he paid for it in advance, and I know that he's been planning on us going, and then like if I break up with him, that's really crappy, you know, to do this and all this stuff. And yeah, I just felt really, really bad about it. And I was talking to my friend about it when we were swinging her son on the swings, and she's like, I'd go, or she goes, I'd still go and then break up with him. I'm like, well, I don't feel right about going and then breaking up with him. I don't think that that's right. You know, it's just leading him on. If I know that I'm going to break up with him and then like I go on this trip with him, that kind of sends a different message. You know, that's kind of crappy. And she's like, I'd still go. And she's also the one when she got a divorce that she did the credit card thing. But I don't know. I didn't end up going, by the way. I broke up with him before it, and then he was really upset because he had paid for it. And he's like, well, maybe I should just go by myself. And I was like, I'm sorry, you know. I'm like, this will give us time to think about, you know, like you're going to be going away this summer and, you know, all this stuff. And he did go away that summer, and I missed him terribly. And Jeff had flunked out of college. So, yeah, so Jeff and I started seeing each other, and he lived about an hour away from me, or his family did. And so, like, I would drive up there, or we would meet and get together and stuff. And then pretty much it was like, I think it was like July or something like that, and we were outside of his house, and I was getting ready to go home, and he's like, I have to tell you something. And I said, what? And he's like, I don't know how to say this. He goes, but I'm not going to be coming back to school in the fall. And I said, why? And he said, I flunked out. And I'm like, oh, you're kidding. And I said, are you going to come back? And he's like, I hope so. He's like, he didn't flunk out, I guess. He was on probation. That's what it was. he was on probation for low grades. So, he was not there that semester. He's like, I'm not going to be there that semester. So, I said, that's okay, you know. And then I didn't see him after that. Like, we just kind of like went our own separate ways after that night. It wasn't like, I don't even think we were really even dating. We were just kind of just seeing each other, having fun together, you know, kind of thing. I mean, we never slept together or anything. We just were like, but I mean, we like, I mean, we did what boyfriends and girlfriends did, you know, in an innocent way, but like, but it never got to that extent where it was like, you know, and I'm glad it never got that way, because it would have been harder to leave that, you know, relationship. But like after that, I called him, and it just was a little bit different between us. Like, he felt really bad. Like, he was crying when he told me that he wasn't going to come back. He was like, my mom and dad are really mad at me. My dad says I have to work with him during the semester, since I'm not going to school. And I could tell it was hard on him, but I honestly can't remember if I called him after that, or like if we just went our separate ways after that. That's just kind of a blur. But one thing that I do remember is I did write to Joe. I got the address for the camp that he was at, for school that he was at. I got the address from his mom. I called his mom and I said, I want to write Joe a letter. And his mom and I got along pretty well. So, she gladly gave it to me. And so then I wrote him a letter and I told him I was sorry and that, I missed him and that I wanted to get back together with him, if he wanted to. And he said, because after we broke up, he started dating this girl from Japan. And when I was seeing Jeff, and you know, and I asked him if he was still dating her, and he said no. And I found out why afterwards, which yeah, that's a story all in itself. But kind of like that. Or is that too much? It does kind of go. So he came back when he was done with camp. He came down, and I was working that summer at Fleet Farm. And he came into Fleet Farm one night when I was just about to get off. And he's like, do you want to talk at the park? And I said, sure. And so then we went to the park and we talked about a bunch of stuff, and we just ended up back together then, and we stayed together, like, and then went back to school together, moved in together, got engaged, got married, all that jazz. So but Jeff was cute. He was really cute. He was a good looking guy. But so is Joe. I mean, and so is my husband. I mean, I think my husband has gotten better looking through the years. Like, I've always said that. The, like, men tend to get more handsome as they get older. Whereas women, they just start getting ugly. I mean, maybe not all women, but, like, in my case, like I had a few kids. I was never completely able to get rid of my baby weight. You know, you start worrying about, you know, all your, like, when you're a mom and you start having kids, it's like you are the last one on the totem pole. So it's like you are always putting other people ahead of your needs, and not thinking of yourself. And so, like, your health and your, like, well, you know what I mean. You know, it's all, I think it's the same for everybody. Like, we're always last, and it's because our kids need us, and we would pretty much, you know, bend over backwards to give our children the world if we could. And so, you know, when you're raising little kids, there's not time to, like, you know, there probably is time to work out and things like that, but that's like when I remember that time of my life, like, I can remember falling into bed so utterly exhausted, like, that I had never been so tired in my entire life. And I remember those days vividly. And yes, I miss those days because life was easy when the kids were little. Even though it seemed super hard, I had no clue what I was about to enter. You know, the teenage years and like all that stuff. Yeah. Little kids are easy. But they're exhausting. I will say that for sure. Those days are exhausting. Just trying to see if there's anything else I want to put on here to add to this. I don't think I'm going to add anything there. This is kind of pink and brown, so that would match the sticker, but it doesn't really go with anything else. But all I know is that 30 years ago, I was a whole lot prettier than I am now. Now I just look like a middle-aged housewife. And even, like, in recent years when I've, like, worked out and all that stuff, I still look like a middle-aged housewife. That's just how it was. But I think guys just somehow they just look better. I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, of course I thought my husband was handsome when I met him, you know. But I think he looks like, men start looking distinguished, like when their faces fell out and they, like, put on a little bit of weight and they, like, I don't know, they just look better. But see, one mistake that I made is that I would tell my husband that, and there are some things that you just shouldn't say to your spouse, and it's like a catch-22. It's like, I guess maybe with some marriages you can say that, but, like, I have found in every relationship that I have ever been in, when I, like, compliment them constantly, like, oh, you're so handsome, oh, you know, I love you so much, or whatever, that they start backing away. Like, they don't, it's like you want it, but you don't want it. And I get it because I'm kind of that way too. Like, you don't want to be too needy to your spouse, but you don't want to appear too needy to your spouse, but you want them to know that you love them. And it's like, that has always been difficult for me because, like, I want to say it, but then, like, I know from experience now that that's not always wise to say those things. It's good to keep them like guessing a little bit, you know, like, and at least in my relationship. Because even with my husband, like, when I've been that way, it's like he always, you know, like kind of backs off. And so, like, I always kind of, now I kind of keep them guessing, like, and I have for a few years now. Just kind of like, I don't tell him those things anymore. I still think them. I just don't. I almost think this looks better. I almost like that tree better than this one. I wonder if I should take this one off. I wonder if it'll let me without causing too much of a problem. I have a piece of acetate I can stick it to, though. That's cute too. I mean, that might be cute. Like, if I put it there, then that would be big. But I do like this too. Like, if I put that there. But I think I kind of like this old-fashioned car. Like, if I did. Because this says trees, farm fresh trees, and then it's got a picture of a car. But I kind of like that. Like, it's driving down the road with a tree on the back. There, I like that. That's simple enough. That's 7. This is 7. It's the same day. I'm gonna put that there. And then what's the next page? Oh, I need to punch that hole too. So I'm gonna go in here. Put these in here. Okay, and then I need to punch that one. So I need, where's my punch board? Oh, here it is. Punch a hole here. So when I get done with this, I need to shave my legs because I'm telling you, I feel like Sasquatch. I have not shaved my legs in at least a month. I've been so exhausted. Like, working like this takes a lot out of me. I get really exhausted when I get home, and I don't know if it's because I'm working with kids or because there's just a lot that goes into it. You know, I come home and then I have to write reports, and then I have to file that all away and all that stuff, and it's a lot. It can be a lot. You know, and I'm always like, it's a little bit stressful because I'm always wondering if I'm doing everything right, because, you know, I haven't been doing this very long. And, you know, so I still worry about that kind of stuff. I don't think I'm going to be able to put this here. I think I'm going to have to put, unless I move this, I could do that. I could move this one and use this one. Although, I'm thinking this would go better with that. So I'm going to put this one here. Sometimes when I'm doing my December daily, I'll rearrange the pages depending on like the photos that I'm going to scrapbook, or like what order everything's going in. It may not work out the way I want it to. So like my next picture is still the 7th. These are still on the 7th. So here's Esme and Corbin, and then here's Santa. So I'm going to do Esme and Corbin on this one. And then we'll do Santa on this one, I think. I think that'll look good. And then this can stay here, and I'll decorate this. But this page will be the last one I do tonight. Here. So. And hopefully this video is not super long. But I say that every time, and then like, I'm a slow scrapbooker for one thing. I just always have been. Because I'm more artsy with my scrapbooking than a lot of people are. And that can be some people's cup of tea. Some people may not like that. And, you know, that's the exciting thing about this craft, is that you can kind of just do it your own way, and there's no wrong way to do it. So let's see, I need a mat for this, and I'm trying to figure out what color mat would work best. I know I'm using a lot of this red paper that I got. I think I'm going to cut off Scott's coat there. And then this is bent, so I think I'm going to cut that off too. I'm just imagining what the dogs are doing out there. I didn't kennel them before I came in my office, and I put down a pad on the floor, a pee pad. I did let them outside before I came in here, but that doesn't mean a hill of beans to these dogs. They just kind of go anyway, but so I'm hoping I don't find a bunch of dog presents when I'm done in here. I feel bad that we have to keep them gated out of like certain areas of the house, but it's too expensive to keep replacing stuff because they are so old that they're just going potty everywhere. Like, we have had to replace numerous rugs, flooring, so many things because they're males. They're two males. They're both fixed, but they still mark their territory. And they both think that they're the alpha dog, so they both like are constantly, if one dog goes in a certain spot, the other dog will go in the exact same spot. And so then there's double P there, and it's like some nights are worse than others. I mean, some nights they won't go at all in the house, and some nights they go like numerous times. And I haven't quite figured out what to do about it. we just kind of grin and bear it. We put down puppy pads now, you know, so hopefully they go in there, and that's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes they'll go like slightly off the pad. So they're partially on the floor, partially on the pad. They've ruined a big portion of our laminate flooring that we're going to have to cut out and replace. We're just going to have to cut those boards and get the same exact laminate flooring and put it over top, you know, put it, like, replace it in those spots, because the flooring is all warped in those areas from them peeing on it so much. They've just completely saturated it. But we got this new rug in our dining room, and we gated that room. We're like, they have ruined so many area rugs that we have, because they will just saturate it with pee, and then they'll continue going on the rug in the same spot until it's completely ruined. It's frustrating when you have old dogs. Let's just say that. It's really frustrating. So I'm going to put a few magical moments. I think I need to put something else, like a card or something, down. Do you want to use Noel? No. What's that one? I have a snowflake. Really go. I think these would go really pretty together on some page that I'm going to do. I don't know what page that is exactly yet, but I don't know if I should use one of these big things. I don't really have too much to say about this other than, like, Esme was super excited, which she always is. She's just, you know, it's funny about Hunter was my joy boy. He just was always so full of joy no matter what. Just beaming from ear to ear all the time. And that was kind of, in the end, it was kind of his downfall, because, see, I was kind of that kind of kid too. Like, teachers would tell my mom, they would be like, Amy is so happy all the time. She always comes into class smiling and just so happy to be there and everything like that. But I wasn't happy. I wasn't a happy child. I struggled a lot, and like, I struggled making friendships somewhat. I mean, I masked a lot of stuff when I was a kid, and, you know, I had adapted by putting this mask on my face and pretending that I was happy all the time. Well, Hunter was my joy boy, and he was always like that, just super smiley, super happy all the time. And I knew that, like, in my mind, that he wasn't, there's no way he could be that happy all the time. And then as an adult, I've learned, like, as he has been an adult, I've learned that he grew up doing the same thing, masking a lot of, he didn't really have a lot of, pain other than like, Scott and I have had issues throughout their, childhood. Even though we tried to keep it as quiet as possible, when the kids were little. We just kind of like, I didn't really discuss it much. Well, I didn't discuss it at all with the little kids. But like, we were like, when he was little, we had lots of problems with my oldest son. Like, he was just the most rebellious teenager. Not so bad that he got in trouble with the law or anything like that, but I mean, there were a couple times that, we had to pick him up at the police station, we had to go to court with him a couple times, but thankfully it wasn't for anything. Like, he did not have, any addictions or anything like that. It was that he was just having a good time, thinking that he was old enough to do things that he wasn't old enough to do. He just wanted to test the limits, and he would take off sometimes, and I wouldn't know where he was, and I couldn't go out looking for him because I had little kids, and and it scared the crap out of me, that I didn't know where he was. And, and Scott was working. He couldn't leave work all the time. It was a lot to deal with, and the kids were around for that. And I think that's part of the reason why Hunter has never, ever done any of those things, like drank or smoked or tried drugs or anything. It's because of all the crap that Matt put me through. Now, Matt is a wonderful adult now. He's a wonderful father, a wonderful wife. They are very strong Christians now. He doesn't do anything anymore. He doesn't drink, smoke, vape, do anything. Him and Yessie are like as straight-laced as they come. But his teenage years were tumultuous. I mean, they were very stressful. And that was a lot. And I think Hunter masked a lot of that, growing up. And I see that now, like, that he has a side to him that I didn't realize was there before, because he kind of had to grow up pretty fast after, he had Esme at 19, or she was born when he was 19. So that's really young to become a parent, and and have to be put through all that he was put through was a lot for him. And it's still a lot. Like, what he deals with on a daily basis is still a lot for him. He's 23 years old, and, he has 4 kids that he's raising, and that's a lot, Plus, he's paying child support, and, and that's hard on a guy who has to pay child support, but his daughter is with him more than she's with the mom now, most often. And we don't mind that. We love her and we want her around, we want her with us as much as possible, but that's a lot of money to be paying when you have her most of the week. And then there's that whole thing, well, do we take her back to court? That's going to cost a lot of money. We don't have that money. It's a lot. It's a lot. And, so he was always my joy boy, and I always thought everything was fine with him. And I'm pretty sure my parents thought that with me too, that I was just like resilient. I was super resilient, and I could, that I could make it through anything. And I persevered, but, you know, it really screwed me up too. You know, just always never facing anything head on, just kind of like, you know, kind of just like, oh well, you know, this is life, you know. And I see in her the same exact thing. She is like the replica of Hunter, and he is somewhat too. I see he is like a little joy boy too. And it's like I see so much of their dad in them, and it just like, in a way, you know, yes, it does like bring back memories of like, oh, he was such a happy child, you know, just so much fun, and, you know, and all that stuff. But then also I think I'm gonna put the nutcracker here. We'll put him here, because so he's facing inward, and then we'll put the ballerina here. Clara, we'll put her there. We could put Jolly up here. But I don't want them to be like in the same situation. I don't want this to be like a family curse where you are, you know, where we're all masking, you know, our pain, you know, because we want to, you know, get through, you know, whatever is bothering us. This red is not the same red. What can I do instead? This says Feliz Navidad. I really kind of want to use pink, I think. Do I have pink, or do I want to use a doily? I could use a doily. Oh, I kind of like that. So I think I'm going to cut like part of this off. Like, so it kind of goes off of the edge just a touch. I'm going to do that. Matt was the sweetest little boy. Oh my goodness. Oh, he was my whole world. I say that all the time. He just was he was my whole world for like, well, until I met Scott. And I think I've told you guys this before, that I feel really guilty that the way that whole situation went down. Like, I was not thinking straight. I was stressed out because I was living in an apartment that I couldn't afford. It was way beyond my budget. And, you know, I met him, and, you know, there were just a lot of reasons why I thought that relationship was ideal for our situation. But I really jumped into it way, way, way too fast. And I don't regret it. I wouldn't have done it any differently, just because I wouldn't have Ethan and Hunter if that were the case. But I think that it was really hard on Matt. Like, I didn't think about a lot of things. I didn't think about how my divorce affected him. I thought He's 3. He's not even going to remember any of this, you know. I just, you know, I kind of thought I was doing what was best for him. I was doing what was best for me, because of the situation. And I thought that he was little enough that he wouldn't remember any of it. And I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong. The divorce had a huge impact on Matt. And then getting married, like, well, I met Scott. Gosh. I met Scott like 3 months after I had moved. Like 3 months after our divorce, I had met Scott. And then we were married 6 months from the day that like 6 months later, we were married. So, like, that was something that I jumped in to without thinking. But I was thinking about, like, I need help to pay the rent. You know, this guy is, like, the nicest guy I've ever met. He is super nice to me. He's good to, you know, he's good to Matt. He's, you know, he's not immoral in any way. I don't have to worry about any of the things that I had to worry about with Joe's family or anything like that. And so I thought, you know, this is what I want. But I never once considered, like, I don't think that I never once considered, like, asking Matt what I should do. I feel like during that period of time, I, like, passed him around a lot, you know, like, you know, I had babysitters watching him so I could go out. I just was not very mature, I don't think, at that age. And I know hindsight's 20/20, but I see young women do this all the time. I see them dating guys that, like, that they, you know, they have kids and they're not considering their kids at all. They're just considering about their needs and their wants and stuff like that. And it breaks my heart because I know that I did that. And I know what happens. I know the ramifications of it because I've been through it. And but you can't tell anybody that because it's like they have to learn for themselves. If someone had told me that too, I would have said, no, he's fine, you know. But I had no clue at all. Put this under here. The kids are asleep in this photo. Like, all of them are asleep. And I think it's the cutest picture for Santa to take a picture with them, Santa and Mrs. Claus, because, like, all the kids were asleep at this point. This is the end of the night. And they were done. They were absolutely done. And it was just so cute. I wonder if I should do this rub-on that says Happy Holidays. Trying to get rid of my rub-ons because they're getting old. Like, these rub-ons are super duper old. And they lose their stuff when they're this old. Something just fell on the floor. I'm not sure what it is. Where's my embossing tool? I know I had it not long ago. What did I do with it? I have a feeling everything's like buried under here. Buried under all of my embellishments. As you can see, I don't plane this very well. Maybe I can use the back of this bone folder. I might be able to. I mean, I think we've come to a point in our life where, like, we've been married a long time now, you know. Scott and I have been married much longer than Joe and I were married. You just get to a point in your marriage where you're just kind of like, you just reach this point where you're just kind of like, okay, this is how it is, you know. I mean, I'm glad that today he realized that, like, you know, but it did, I'm gonna be honest with you, I did think, what have you been doing? Like, if he's saying, yes, I do owe you this present for all the stuff that I put you through, and I'm like, what have you been doing lately? Like, are you still, you know, because there's still those little inklings of like I'll get algorithms. We share our accounts, our social media accounts, and like I'll get like these algorithms where like OnlyFans women will show up, or things like that, or like we'll get friend requests from women that are like, you know, posed inappropriately, or that we don't know, like there's, you know, or like in the messenger thing, well, we'll get like in the spam things, we'll get like these clubs that like will show up every once in a while that like Scott had signed up for, I don't know when, that are all like, I don't think it's a club, it's like I don't know, it's a page or something that he follows or something, or a group or whatever, that is all about like OnlyFans type stuff, you know, like looking at porn and stuff like that. And it's just like, so, you know, I do stress about that still. It's always going to trigger me. Scott will always deny it, no matter, till the end of time. I know this about him. This has been going on since, for the past, like, I've known about it for the past 15 years. So, you know, this is something that's ongoing in our marriage, and probably is always going to be ongoing in our marriage. There's nothing that I can do about it. It's because it's not my addiction. It's a problem that he deals with. It's not something that I deal with. And it is going to be like something that we're going to have to work through the rest of our lives. It's going to be a battle. And but I have stopped accusing him, or like I've just stopped that whole thing, because it wasn't doing me any good, and it wasn't doing him any good. I just kind of ignore it now, and I delete it. Like, whenever I see something like that, I delete it and block it. You know, like if he belongs to a group that's showing up on our messenger, I will leave the group, and then I will block the people on it. Or like if we get a friend request from some OnlyFans chick, I'll immediately get on there and block it. That's not saying that he doesn't have anybody on his phone that he is texting or anything like that. I know that it's not physical. But, like, I'm not going to get on his phone anymore. All that did was just cause a lot of problems with me mentally. It messed with my mind. It messed with my mental health. And, you know, I know that it's going on. So there's nothing I can do about it. And I can't do anything about it. That's something that he's going to have to do for himself. If he wants help in that area, he's going to have to do that himself. And nothing I say or do is going to change that. And I was hopeful today when he said that, like, that he's actually been thinking about it. Today was like the first time I'd actually heard like some remorse in his voice when he said, "Yes, I do owe you." You know, I did hear that remorse, and that was like the first time I had ever heard that, you know. And I know that those triggers are always going to be there. Like, the trigger to, like, think about that kind of stuff is always going to be there. For the rest of our lives or for the rest of our marriage, you know, it's always going to be there. But, you know, marriages go through a lot, and ours is not the only one. Ours is not unique in that way that, like, you know, marriages deal with a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm not condoning what Scott has done by any means, and I'm not perfect either in any way, shape, or form. I'm not exactly the easiest person to live with at times. So I'm not going to, like, point fingers and say, you know, it's all his fault, or, you know, I think there were many years that I did push him away. Whether it was intentional or not, I was going through a lot. I think that when you go through infertility, for one thing, or anything where you are dealing with loss, like the loss of a child, or the loss of, you know, a pregnancy, or the loss of, or, you know, not being able to get pregnant, or any of that kind of stuff, it really messes with your head. It messes with your head so much, especially for the woman. And, you know, and in a way you kind of blame your spouse, even though it's not their fault, you know, but you don't know you don't know why it's happening, and, you know, and you're mad at God, and you're just mad at everything around you, but then you're so distraught as well. You're just so sad, and it's, I would not wish it on anybody in the whole wide world. It messes with you, but it does affect your marriage, because it does. All those years of, like, you know, you reject your man because you are afraid of so much. You know, you're afraid of experiencing pain again. You're afraid of, you know, loss again. And it's just so much to handle. And I don't know if guys really get that, like, how hard that is for women to, like, to go through things like that. It's just, and it's something that we don't talk about. I don't think we talk about it near enough. You know, that whole, how difficult you know, when our bodies don't work the way that they should, you know, how difficult that is for us. And I don't know if men deal with that too. They might too, you know, when they know that their bodies aren't working the way that they should, you know, if they feel the same way. But I know as a woman, it's just, it really screws you up. It really messes you up bad. And even though we were blessed with 2 children after that, where other families are not as lucky as we were, I'm still very mindful of that because I remember those years. Like, it's hard to forget a time like that when it's just so, it's so difficult. It's so difficult to go through. You know, and I think the same, like if there is a chronic illness, you know, in your family or something like that too. You know, like if one spouse is really ill and you're, you know, you just give everything to that other person and there's just nothing left. You know, it happens a lot. It happens a lot in foster families. It happens a lot in some adoptive families. It's just really, really difficult for, you know, everything that we go through can be really difficult. But men handle things a lot differently than women. But one thing that we have to remember about men too is they do have emotions and they do feel things. They just are not as good at expressing that because of the way that we have, you know, there's a stigma that we've created with men that they're supposed to be tough and they're not supposed to feel, and that makes it really difficult for men to talk about a lot of things that are bothering them and things that, you know, are hurting them or uncertainty. You know, it's hard for them. And, you know, women are going through a lot and men are going through a lot, and a lot of times it does happen that, you know, relationships fail because of those reasons. You know, or addictions begin because, like, the man can't deal with it, so he begins drinking, or he can't deal with all the stress, so he finds an outlet, you know, gambling or you know, looking at porn or texting, you know, other women or whatever the addiction may be, you know. And I think the same thing goes for women, but maybe in a different way. You know, women tend to, you know, go shopping too much or spend too much money, or they, you know, they have other addictions that they, you know, that they have. You know, they're not exempt. It's not all on men. But I think that it's a lot of these things are more prominent with men because they are unable to communicate their feelings, and women are more verbal. So we generally have someone that we talk to, you know, about some of these things, and we're more apt to seek out therapy, where men are less likely to do that too. So, but anyways, so these are the pages that we've gotten through today. That was the first page the other day. Then we did page 1, or day 1, and these were both on day 1 with the trees. And then this was the day that they got their tree. And then day 2 was our first snow. Day 3, I started doing my training for early intervention. Day 4, I spent the day with Michelle. Today is actually her birthday, so that's kind of exciting too. I wished her happy birthday this morning. Our books. I'll write down our top 10 holiday Christmas memories. The 5th was Aria's first Christmas page. This is the day we went shopping. This was the tree lighting ceremony on the 7th. And then there's a few pages of this because there were a lot of pictures that I wanted to share. This was the only time that the kids saw Santa this year, even though they were asleep. So Esme did actually wake up after this picture was taken, and Santa and Mrs. Claus had walked away slightly, and Esme's like, I want a picture. So we got her out of the stroller, or out of the wagon, and we let her run up to Santa, and we did take a picture of that. But it wasn't a really good picture. I tried to take a nice picture, but it kind of, the light got behind it and it kind of blurred it a little bit. So this was a much better picture, but so I used this one instead. I didn't print out the other one of Esme and them, but so we'll start out with this one next time. I'll probably put like a back on this, I think, unless I decide to take it out of here completely and punch holes and just like use it as another just like filler card. I'm not sure exactly, but we'll proceed. I'm hoping to do another page on Saturday. I'm not sure because we're supposed to go into town on Saturday. I need to get groceries, and we have a few other errands we have to run, so but hopefully I'll get home in time where I can film another video, and we'll continue. I want to get this done as soon as possible. I did notice this is starting to crack. If you can see that the leather is just slightly, I don't know if I could rub some, I don't think this is real leather. I'm wondering, I'm gonna do like a search on Pinterest to see if there's something that I can rub into this so it doesn't crack more. It's just very slight, you can't hardly see it, but I notice it. I could probably take brown ink too and maybe just ink this, you know, so you can't really see it. But I'll have to test some colors so it's not like noticeable. But okay, well, I thank you all for watching, and if you've lasted this long, boy, you deserve a medal. But I will see you next time here, and yeah, I hope you have a good rest of the week. Bye.